Hey, Janice. It's good to see you. I have a few questions for you. And I guess what we could do is just go back and forth.
Yes, I think that would be great. We can do
Okay.
that.
So, where did you grow up?
For the most part, I grew up in Birmingham. I lived in Greene County in my early years. So Birmingham has been my home. So for all intent and purposes, it's my home. I grew up in part in the Centerpoint area. Attended high school out at Woodlawn High School on the east side of Birmingham. So I am a Birmingham girl for sure.
Awesome. Where's Greene County?
Greene County is about 33 miles west of Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
Yes. Small, very small.
Right. That's a part of Alabama I have not been to.
Yes. I think it still amazes people that once you get outside of Birmingham, that most of the state of Alabama is rural. So it is a rural area for sure.
Right. I've learned the most about Alabama geography from when we have inclement weather and watching fan and just watching the names of the cities as storms come our way. So.
That is true. That is true because some of the places that we hear about during those emergency moments with James Spann, you're here sitting, you go, I didn't know that was in the state of Alabama. Where is it exactly? And you're literally wanting to pull out a map to try to figure out where this, for example, a place called Pineapple, and it's 2 words, Alabama. So yeah, it's interesting. The state has some very interesting names for the cities, and we don't have a clue where some of them are.
All right.
So tell me about you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Marietta, Georgia, which is a near suburb of Atlanta, just north of Atlanta, on the other side of the Chattahoochee River.
Okay.
So I spent first 35 years of my life in Georgia and internationally, and then we've been here for 11 years in Birmingham.
Okay. So did the UAB job bring you to Birmingham, or was it something else?
Graduate school at Samford.
Okay.
So we moved here in 2009 for me to get my Master of Divinity at Samford. Ended up working at Samford for a while, and then the UAB job came up as an opportunity.
Okay, awesome. So was it a major transition for you to come from Marietta to the Birmingham area?
Yeah, I would say we lived in Costa Rica before we came here, so it was an international move for us.
Okay.
But growing up in the Atlanta area, Birmingham has a lot of similarities to
Yes.
Atlanta. It's just a whole lot smaller and less traffic, but the weather's similar, and we're still close to family. So
Exactly.
Birmingham is the perfect place to live.
Well, I think it's kind of gives you the best of both worlds is the way I look at it. It's not small, but it's not huge like Atlanta, and it's not as congested. And I honestly don't think I would have to work remote if I lived in Atlanta because the commute would be a nightmare. So, yeah.
It is. Okay, so what has been for you the hardest part of quarantine or COVID-19 in general?
Well, for me, and I'll first just say that I feel like, overall I've had it really good, so I want to make sure I put that in perspective compared to what some people have, experienced and are still experiencing. But probably one of the things for me is I miss the people. I miss the interaction with the people. I've said numerous times, just little things like walking down the hall at the building and you see, somebody from compensation say, hey, how are you doing? Or walking to the Starbucks over at the Hilton. I miss that the most. Just that human interaction, being able to connect. You just can't duplicate that with Zoom. We try, but we can't duplicate that with Zoom.
Yeah.
And what about you? What's been the the most challenging for you, you think?
Definitely people related. So here where we are at the Into UAB Center, all of the international offices are here, or all the international student, international scholar, and international employee, all of those folks who work with that community at UAB, we're all in the same place. And so all of our international community comes here for one reason or another. Either they come here for class, all of our ESL classes are here. Some just come to hang out here in this space, or they're coming to meet their advisor or the immigration team, or to meet student affairs team. And so the center here in a normal time is just always full of students. And so I'll walk out of our office suite and just right over here into our lounge area and see people from all over the world, from here in the US, from different countries, talking to one another. Sometimes you hear other languages, but one of the coolest things that is just seeing the people from different parts of the world talking to each other and sharing a meal.
That has to be an awesome experience. And then just to have that not be there and be a part of your daily life probably was an adjustment for you.
Absolutely. So we transitioned well to remote. It's hard to do student affairs remotely, but our students, they were very resilient. And they did engage with us and they have continued to engage through Zoom and email, but it's just not the same.
Not the same. So just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, do you think that just as people in general, that through something like this, we have shown how resilient we are? Because in a way, you had to adapt and adjust, as I like to say.
Yes. I've been very impressed with our students, especially early on in the pandemic. There still are so many unknowns, but especially if you're an international student and you're here and you don't know if you're going to go home, or what it's going to look like here. They got through a lot.
Right.
I was just very, very impressed with our students. But one thing I learned is many of our students come from countries that have more of a community focus. So for them, doing things that benefit the community, like wearing a mask or staying at home that is just natural for them. And so early on, when they were seeing people from here not wearing masks or not taking things seriously, it caused a lot of anxiety for these students. So I think we've had to learn how to be a little more like some other cultures that are more focused on the community rather than the individual.
Than just the individual, right. Now, I think we're all still learning to do that. And you're right. I noticed that even, I came to campus in the first few weeks of this, just out on the green, just walking, and there were a lot of our international students that I would see from time to time, and they seemed just comfortable, with the social distancing and mask, and everybody else is, I don't want to wear one, or didn't have one on. For the most part, they didn't have one on. So, so I want to ask you, so kind of the flip side of that, what was the most or the least challenging for you, or what has been?
So in a lot of ways, I'm a very social person, and I really like being around my colleagues, and of course love being around students, but not having to get up and get ready in the morning, it's just not having to iron clothes. That is pretty fantastic. And so it's something that I've noticed over the last few weeks. I've had to get the ironing board back out and start ironing my clothes again. So.
That's funny you said that, because I was actually ironing a shirt this morning for this meeting, thinking, okay, it needs, some days if I'm just going to be on Zoom with my team, well, just between you and I, my white shirt might not be as ironed as usual.
Absolutely.
But then today, when I first thought I was going to wear a white shirt, I thought, well, I've got to iron it because we're going to be on a call together, and he'll be able to see, all the wrinkles. So I agree with you that probably the easiest thing has been just kind of having that flexibility of being in the house, that if you want to stop and go put a load of laundry in, we can just run up the stairs and do that real quick.
Right.
So that definitely has been a plus. That's been one of the easiest things, just kind of getting used to the routine. And my mother, in all her wisdom, when we first came home, she said, well, while you're doing this, which all of us thought it was going to be for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, not 6 months. And she said, make sure that every morning you try to stick to a routine, set up your office space downstairs, and just really pretend like you're going to work, that it'll make it easier for you to be focused and to be productive. And so that has made the transition much easier for me. So I can sit down and stay focused for a full day. Right. Sometimes too long, like until 11 o'clock at night, but nonetheless productive.
Right. Yeah, it's a little harder to turn work off. But yes, it's a very nice commute when I set up an office space in our bedroom, and I'd walk out of the bedroom at 5 o'clock and my kids would be in there and they'd say, "Are you done with work?" And so, yep, I'm done. So it's just a commute of 10 feet from one space into the living space, and just.
Yeah, that has been different. As I mentioned to you earlier about the walks the first few months on campus, because I needed to be able to physically and mentally separate myself from work for a little while. And just by getting out of the house doing that, because otherwise I'm just in the house with the computer all day long, into the evening. So it's a little harder to separate, but that's kind of been my strategy throughout it all.
That's good. Well, as things have started to open back up a little bit more, have you been able to go back to your favorite restaurants in Birmingham? And if so, what's your favorite restaurant?
I've been to a couple of restaurants. I have not eaten inside of a restaurant yet. I've gone to pick up food. I take that back. We went once. I met a friend from Tennessee, and we went to Newt. So that's one of my favorites, actually. And it was convenient. So we went there. It was a little awkward because you have to try to figure out, okay, what do we do about the mask? And the person taking your order couldn't hear you. So Newt's is one of my favorites, and any of their salads is what I like. But probably my number one favorite, though, is Surin. And I like it's called a chicken noodle bowl, I believe. It's got a curry sauce with it and grilled chicken. That's probably my favorite. What about you? What's yours?
It's hard. Birmingham has so many great restaurants, but it really comes down to what we enjoy going to the most. It'd really probably be, we live in Homewood, and there's a little Mexican restaurant called Acapulco, and
yes,
I would say that's at least my favorite restaurant right now in Birmingham, just because they opened back up pretty early on. They've been really diligent about wearing masks and keeping people safe, and food's excellent.
Well, speaking of Mexican, there's a Taco Mama that's just on the edge of campus on the east side. And so I've been there, and I know there's one in Homewood, and the joke for everybody was that they, can pick up your food curbside, but they're also letting people pick up margaritas or the ingredient for margaritas curbside. Right. So that was a little bit interesting. But Birmingham is definitely become a foodie town for sure. And you can, I'm a creature of habit. I don't know about you and your family. I go to the same places all the time, and I kind of forget that there are all these varieties of things here.
Right.
To go to eat. Yeah. What about pets? Do you have pets?
We do. We have a dog named Oso, who's a Maltipoo, and Maltipoos, half Maltese, half Poodle. And we got him for our kids, but within a week, it was apparent that it was my wife's dog. That's the way it is. Whoever feeds you, you attach to. We also have a pet guinea pig that we can't get rid of. So if you're watching this once, a guinea pig, he's super cute, but he stays in a cage in our garage because we got him for my daughter, and she just she outgrew him. She just
Okay.
didn't him anymore.
But he's become a member of the family, I suppose, so you can't get rid of him now.
Well, actually, you can't list pets on Facebook Marketplace, so we just don't know how to get rid of. But yeah, he's kind of part of the family.
Okay.
I'm the one who takes him outside, and our dog likes him. You know.
Okay.
How about
So,
you? Do you have any pets?
no, I don't. But you know what? I will say that, while we've been home this 6 months, I have thought often about a pet because I'm thinking, wow, if I had a pet, it would be so much easier because I'm home every day and then it would be somebody to keep me company. But I'm still a little, I guess I'm a little hesitant about getting a puppy because once we go back to, I guess, whatever our world's going to look like in terms of normal, it's like, okay, so now what do you do with the pet? And I would hate for the pet to be neglected. So,
For sure.
yes, but I mean, I want a dog. As a matter of fact, the Maltipoo was one that I've been online looking at over the last few months because they're small and cute.
They
and
don't
cute.
shed. And he's really been the perfect dog.
Okay, you're making me more interested now again in this Maltipoo.
We'll just say my parents got a Maltipoo from the same breeder, and not quite the same quality. So you
Really?
can the same breeder and it not be the same. But
okay.
I think if you go somewhere and you're looking at a dog, you can feel, if you feel comfortable that place and that they're taking care of their animals, then
right.
It's probably
That's definitely one that I've thought about. So what about you when you're not working and taking care of students and all that? What do you like to do? What's your hobby?
Really as my wife and I, we have 2 kids. They're both in high school now. And when I think about the things that I enjoy doing, it's just spending quality time with my family. And if we can do that outside, it's even better. So that used to be pretty easy with our kids. We just say, hey, let's go to the park. Now they're a little older and they're a little more attached to their phones. So it's a little more difficult to get them to come outside. But any type of quality time.
Okay. So I would imagine it's hard to get the kids to want to separate from their phones to spend quality time. It's like a chore. Like we got to go where? We got to do what?
Absolutely. Yeah. That could be a longer conversation, but certainly it's a real thing where they have anxiety if they're not able to respond to their friends immediately.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how about you? What's your kind of hobbies do you have?
Well, I'm not I wish that I was more of an avid reader that could read for sheer, enjoyment. And I'm not. There are certain things that I will read, but as far as like reading a book cover to cover and go, oh, wow, it was a great book.
Right.
I'll read a textbook before I do a novel. But really my favorite thing to do is, I'm not participating, but I absolutely enjoy watching sports in person. So football is my favorite. Yesterday was not a good day for me because my Cowboys lost, even though I was yelling at the TV, but I enjoy watching.
It was a good week for you last weekend as they came back.
Yes, it was a good weekend. But now Thursday night of this past week was excellent for me because my Blazers were on ESPN National, had an awesome game. So that's one of the things I really love. College football, NFL football, and college basketball are my favorites. And I've heard a lot of people say that, during the whole COVID thing, for a while we didn't have any sports. And sports in and of itself has a way of kind of bringing people together around something, kind of giving you something to cheer for. So for months we didn't have that. So, I'm happy that it's back and now I can partake at least from the stands and from my room watching it on TV.
Right. That was one of the things we were reflecting about as a team here on the September 11th anniversary, was that a week after, that was during baseball season, and the games were suspended for a few days or about a week. And then when they started back up again, the Braves were playing the Mets. I can't remember who the Yankees were playing, but and then President Bush was there to throw out the first pitch.
Yes.
And that kind of moment of baseball back in New York was a very unifying moment. And that's been, we haven't had that ability because COVID is a divider, because it keeps us in our home. Exactly. And we can't get together around the things that we're used to rallying around, like sports.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And as a matter of fact, it's interesting you mentioned 9/11, because I was having that conversation with somebody literally in the last couple of days with that exact same example. And we were talking about, because, football was underway as well. And then I think for maybe a couple of weeks it was suspended or something. And I can just remember being in the stands, and people were just so emotional just hearing the national anthem, or when there was a flyover, or they had paratroopers, I think, coming into Legion Field with the flags and the football and all that, because it was the thing that everybody could rally around and everybody felt, the energy. And that's been something that's, can't, like you said, we can't go to the sporting events now that they're even available. Not in the same way, but that's something I feel like is really missing. That's something that could kind of galvanize everybody and, kind of give us that we're all in this together, sense of being. So, yeah. But so now, are you a night person? Are you the night owl, or do you love to get up early in the morning and you can knock out whatever first thing in the morning?
I'm definitely a morning person. I don't know at what point in my life I shifted. Before we lived in Costa Rica, I worked construction for a long time. Construction's an earlier kind of vocation, and maybe that's when it was. But yeah, anytime after 9 o'clock, I get pretty useless. So I like. So how about you?
Well, so before I answer you, does that mean that you get up like at this 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're ready to do emails then?
I get up about 5:30.
Okay.
I like to have some time with myself. So,
yes.
Coffee, just quiet time in the house where before everything gets going. I don't like to just get up and go straight to email. Have some space in the morning. And so nobody else in my family really is a morning person. I always have, even if we're at the lake or something like that, I'm up before everybody else.
So you really do get some quiet time, some kind of just alone time. And I think we all need that from time to time.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, there's usually always a time, no matter when, in the morning. And then on the weekends, when my kids don't have to go to school, and my wife's not at work, that can be a few hours before I see them. Right.
So now I'm the opposite, because I am more of an evening person, and I have really had to train myself here lately to not send people emails at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, but instead set them to send at 8 o'clock the next morning, because either I'm like, okay, their emails are going to be lost, down in their emails the next day, or some people literally do sleep with their iPads or iPhones somewhere near them, and I don't want them getting a ping at 11:30 in the morning, like, who's emailing me now? So I'm much better. I'm not great, but I'm much better with, setting them to send the next morning. So I am very much a night person. I'm up most of the time, like 12:30, and it's like, okay, I have 30 more minutes, and then it turns into an hour or so. I need to kind of roll that back a little bit, though, and just at least try to get to bed by midnight.
I guess that's one of the benefits of remote working, is that you can kind of set your own schedule, but that's wise to think about when others would be receiving that email where you might be most productive at 11:30, and that's good for you to figure out when you're most productive and when you can work the best. But then being I guess kind to your colleagues and saying, well, but I'm going to send this email
right,
when they're working. So it's another layer of having to understand how we communicate.
that's true.
That we would never have thought of.
That is so true, because like I said, I have had to try to be mindful before I hit send. It's like, oh, that means, this person's getting this email at this time of night. What if they do have their phone on or their emails forwarded and now I'm interrupting their sleep? Or if they're like most of us, if you hear something ringing in the middle of the night, you tend to think it might be an emergency or something. So I've tried to be better about that a little bit. So I heard you mention coffee earlier. So is that your preference?
Absolutely. Yeah. Black coffee.
Okay. Black coffee?
Black coffee. I can't do anything else. It's just how I learned how to drink coffee. My dad drank coffee, and I just thought, well, if you're going to have something, you should... it should not be a lot of work. So
just straight coffee then.
Straight coffee, make my own coffee every morning.
Okay.
Can't pay to have somebody else make my coffee.
So are you, do you, get the grinds yourself, or how do you do, what is your preference of coffee?
Not too much work. I want it to be good coffee.
Okay.
But I don't really have time to, grind everything myself and pour over like this. And also making coffee for me and my wife. And so
okay,
I've got to make enough for both of us. Typically, the night before, and when it's ready, when you wake up in the morning, just nothing like it.
It's ready to go. You're ready to go. So do you drink coffee throughout the day, or is just really you do it in the morning, you're done?
Yeah, I'm done. If I have coffee after 8 in the morning, then there's something wrong.
Okay,
I like having it in the morning. It's kind of part. It just kind of goes with morning time. So, how about you?
Well, I love tea. I like different kinds of teas, mostly the herbal teas. But in the last probably 5 years, I have really started to drink coffee, and I'm going to shatter your world here because I have to add certain things. Okay, when I go through this, and I go through the Starbucks drive-through.
Okay, that's
so. And I think I kind of got a rhythm for ordering now. It's like 2 pumps of this, 2 pumps of that. So you would not like my coffee because it has 2 pumps of flavoring in it, and Splenda and cream. So that for me is coffee. And I usually get something that's half caffeinated, half decaffeinated. Because if I have full 16 ounces of caffeine, then I'm literally bouncing off the walls all day long, and it's not a pretty sight. So my son used to tease me and say, did you just put a little coffee in the creamer, or you put creamer in the coffee? So, but yeah, I do like it, but I usually drink it in the morning. And like I said, if I have it later on in the day, then I'm going to be bouncing off the walls if I have way too much caffeine. So, but at night I do like tea. Sometimes that's kind of relaxing to do, like I said, some of the herbal teas. And so at night, that's my preference.
Does it make any difference if it's hot or cold outside?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes when it's cool outside, I tend to want something warm. Right. And that's evident by the number of times that I've literally gone out of the house to go to Starbucks to get one of their lattes or something, because it's just kind of comforting. But for the most part, it's, during the summer, I drink it at the same rate that I do during the winter. So yeah, I like them both. But yeah, so anything else interesting that you want to share about work, or, sort of I guess what's the highlight of a day for you at work?
So, typically the highlight of our day here, and my day here, is when a lot of times students come to us when they have some type of challenge. And what we do, that's what we're here for. We're here to help students and help them to identify resources and help them to overcome the challenges that they have, so that they can, not be distracted by whatever that challenge was. They can focus on school. So that's really the highlight, is when you can kind of look back at the situation with a student. The student was in crisis, and you've been able to help to guide them through that. We have such great resources for students here at UAB. We have, it's never our goal to do everything for a student. It's our goal to get them to the right resource.
Right.
And just in the time that I've been at UAB, just the colleagues that we have in student affairs and the provost office is really amazing. And during this time of COVID-19, it's been very evident as the whole school has really been focused on student safety, employee safety, finding the best way to do this. And I think I've heard almost all of my colleagues say, and I've said it to people here at UAB and outside of UAB, there's nowhere else I'd rather be during a pandemic than here.
I totally agree with you. We were having a conversation recently that, UAB has just responded in a way that it blows my mind, boggles my mind really, at all the work that obviously has gone on behind the scenes, and even things like making sure that employees are engaged with campus, even though it has to be done virtual. I mean, anything, like I've taken advantage of several of the virtual art events because you can still work with your colleagues, you do something creative. So it's got you engaged, but it also helps you just some of the coping with this, dealing with the circumstances we're in. So I guess that's why I've been at UAB for over 30 years now, because it is an amazing place to work and an amazing place to, have gone to school here twice. So I totally agree. In a situation like this, UAB is where it has the resources that we need. And I feel like it's things that we can trust as well, which is important, for employees making decisions for their families and themselves. So I really absolutely applaud that.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed talking with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nice meeting you as well.
Maybe one of these days we'll be back over in the administration building for meetings.
Yes. You must stop by and say hello in room 374.
Okay. And we're here
yes.
at the UAB Center, and we're open. It's just a lot different. And,
yes.
But it's still, we have students who are here and employees here on a rotating basis. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it so much. I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this. So look forward to seeing what it looks like on the other side.
All right. Have a great rest.
Awesome. You too. Bye.